And we're live. We're recording.
This is live action.
Did that one time. I can't remember what I said.
Live action.
Live action.
Yeah, it was the gator guy or whatever that would get gators and turtles out of ponds on Animal Planet. He had like no teeth. But that's what he would say when they were like reaching his hand in and getting turtles out, like these big saboteurs. Live action. Yeah. So
that's good.
Carry that with me.
I didn't know you watched
Animal
Planet.
You know what else I really enjoy? Naked and Afraid.
Is that where they put all the people on the island?
Well, it's that way now, but it started out as like a guy and a girl would go and spend 30 days naked and afraid. But that's another weird show. That's
pretty spot on.
Like if Courtney comes in, she's like, "What are you watching?" Like I'm just naked people out there in the Amazon. It's no big deal.
Just trying to live on their own. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
And on that note,
yeah, I know we all have. I watch a lot of anime.
Yeah.
And Britt rips on me. She's like, "What are you watching?" They're like, "Hey, Joe, hey, and I'm like, "I don't know."
Sometimes you just need like mindless television.
Yeah. That's
like you can just kind of shut your brain off and watch anime or people be naked.
Be naked and afraid.
Yep.
I like that. So welcome back to Beyond the Metcon, guys.
That's right.
A little snippet on our day-to-day conversations.
Yeah. What we're doing off the mic, that's what we're actually talking about.
Yeah, we talk on the mic of we're serious and important. Then off the mic is live action.
Live action.
Let's get this turtle.
Hey.
But no, so today's podcast, we chatted a couple. So it's been a while. So as you guys know, Lambert does Ragnar's.
Yep.
I went home to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Where the wind
That's
comes.
just like my default go-to when I hear Oklahoma.
I know. It just makes you want to sing that song.
At this point, I can't change it.
Can you think of any other state that when you hear it, you want to sing their state song?
Oh, not a single one.
Yeah, it's because Oklahoma has the most not the only state song.
All my exes live in Texas. There's that one.
There's that one.
Not as good though.
That's not their state song, but I like it.
Yeah, it's not. It should be.
It should be. That's good. So today's podcast, we're going to talk about setting goals. Just before we started,
nutrition goals.
Yes, nutrition goals that turn over into the fitness and these things. And because me and you were kind of talking yesterday a little bit, and it was like you always have this number in your head, and then if you meet that number, it may not be what you think. So we wanted to kind of chat about setting these nutrition goals and how to meet them, and like the different types of diets out there. And we have the perfect one that works for everyone. Said no one ever.
Yeah.
What are the cool kids saying these days? That's cap.
I've not heard that.
Nuh-uh. Really?
No.
Yeah, if someone says that's cap, that means they're lying. If it's cap, that means they're not lying. Really?
The kids these days.
Because I'm on TikTok.
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, is it cap or not cap?
Not a TikToker.
God, I am. Don't ever download it. If you do not have TikTok, don't download it.
Don't do it.
I'll literally will scroll for an hour and have no idea an hour passed. Like, okay, just 2 more videos and get up.
Good.
And it'll be like, and 30 minutes later, I'm like, son of a bitch. Yeah, and Britt rips on me.
Yeah, that sounds not good.
Yeah, it's not.
Dangerous. Dangerous.
Screen time way up.
Right.
It's real good. But I learned the cool new like sheesh and cap and not cap.
Nope, not going to say those things.
God, it's so good.
Leave those to you, the rest of TikTok Nation. But to kind of go what you were saying, yeah, we nutrition, and it's more along the lines of what does that mean to you, right? Like, is your nutrition goal A, B, and C? Then that's going to be different than what my nutrition goals are and the things I'm trying to achieve through my nutrition.
Yeah, 100%. And the way you brought it up was really good because, like, my nutrition goal, like, currently is to still gain weight. Like, I'm still trying to get heavier, whereas, other people are trying to lose weight.
Right.
And it's so funny when I talk to people about what I eat and how much I eat and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, man, must be nice."
Yeah.
Like, no, it is not. I eat 5 meals a day, and I'm almost to vomit every meal.
Right.
But so anyway, you're exactly right. Like, what is your goals, and then your nutrition needs to match those. I think the simplest way to break down nutrition for like weight loss is stop eating shit.
Yeah.
It's literally as simple as that.
Right.
But there are some caveats to the word, and I hate using that word. But I don't know why I feel like pretentious when people use the word caveat.
No, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's a good word for
Is
this
it?
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like in the sense, what I mean is, I had like 5 thoughts just then. I remember I was working with a lady at the gym one time, and she was like, we did macros, and we can talk about that in a second, because everybody knows it. Almost everybody knows if someone's like, hey, I'm eating certain macros and those things, they have at least a general idea of what that is. And what I was getting at was, whenever I was working with her on these macros, she was eating super clean. She really ate really clean all year, and we're going over it, and she was like, well, this morning I ate my daily allotted carbs in my breakfast.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, well what'd you eat?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
See how this plays off, all fat and protein for the rest of the day. But no, so whenever I broke it down, she was like, I'm eating organic steel-cut oats for breakfast. And I was like, that's really good, but how much are you eating?
Right.
Come to find out, she was eating as much as me, and I'm trying to gain weight.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Right, so that's where kind of like the quantity can come into
Right,
place.
right.
But like quality is typically where a lot of people first go.
Yeah.
Whenever it's like, let's see what you're eating.
Yeah. And I think we can break this down without being like this person, right? Like, we can call this athlete A, right? Like,
Yep.
so the lady you're talking about is like, and I think we have a lot of people in the fitness community, right, that almost get into it saying, I want to lose X amount of pounds.
Yeah.
And I think it starts a lot like that. It's like,
100%.
I weigh this and I want to weigh that. And that's where it comes into, like, at bare minimum, let's get rid of the crap that you're putting in your body. And one thing I've heard really good, right, is like, you've heard it too, is when you're doing your grocery shopping, to stay on the outside, the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where all the good stuff lives.
Yep.
As soon as you start going up and down the aisles, that's where you're going to get the crap, right?
And a lot of your processed foods and
stuff.
stuff.
And it's we all do it, right? We all have things that we're going like, I'm getting this and I don't really care.
Yep.
But for athlete A, who's like, I want to lose X amount of pounds, I think it starts with, what are you eating? I don't even think at that point, for me, during my weight loss, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to.
Let's talk about your weight loss real quick. And then let's because I had no idea that you weighed as much as you did.
Yeah. So let's see. It was 2000. Here's my exact story. It was 2015, Christmas 2015. I got this like sweatshirt for Christmas that was an extra large sweatshirt that I really, really wanted, and I put it on, and like my man boobies were like poking out of this thing, and I was like, I can't wear this. Like I have to get rid of this sweatshirt, or I'm just never gonna wear it. And keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
And coming back from Christmas, so now it's beginning of 2016 is when I said, I'm gonna just start working out. And at that point, stepped on a scale, and I was 274 pounds. And I was like, what in the hell has happened to me? And it really was, for me, it was because coming off of football and doing sports my entire life, I just was super burnt out of doing anything, like I've told you before. And it was just a lot easier to just eat and drink and all of that kind of stuff. So it became a priority to me to lose weight. I had no regimen in terms of fitness, but just moving for an hour a day, the weight kind of started to fall off very quickly.
Okay, so what were you doing, like workout wise? Just going to the regular gym?
Yeah, I would go to a global gym type thing. I would do 20 minutes or so of like a cardio machine, so it would be a treadmill or elliptical or something, and then it was what just about everyone else does. It goes and like, I'm gonna roam around until I see something that's open, right? Like I'm familiar with bench and shoulder press and dumbbell stuff just from football. So I'm like, I'm just going to do that. And it was a 6-day-a-week thing. Like
Gotcha.
I was very good at being like, this is my commitment to doing. And the thing I did when I started was I cut out bread. So, and that included like, I wasn't eating bread. I wasn't eating like pasta,
tortillas,
pasta,
and
any of that grain type stuff. Wasn't eating it. That was the main thing. I'm like, I cut it out. And I truly did that up until a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you mainly eat fat and that's it. Like
yeah,
fat and protein.
Yeah,
right?
fat and protein, and that was a very easy. Now, the caveat with that is I was like still drinking like a sailor. So like I was I imagine where I'd be if I would have like stopped drinking too.
Right.
That came a little bit later on, but I was still up until a couple years ago. It was like parking lot Wednesday plus 6, right? Every day was parking lot something. But that was kind of how I got started. Is like just made the goal that I wanted to lose weight, and it's funny because my goal weight had always been 225 pounds. I'm there and still not satisfied with what I thought I would look like at 225 pounds, which we can certainly talk about a little bit later on.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because like a lot of people see you today and they're like, okay, yeah, he played football. He's always looked like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Check and done.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because a lot of people don't see the journey. And like I remember you being a little fluffier just from you drinking beer, but I don't remember you ever being, pretty overweight.
No,
I had no idea you weighed that much.
It wasn't. So I did a year or more, maybe a year and a half of just like doing stuff on my own. And I was like, because I know Adrian, I understood the philosophy of CrossFit. So I was doing that kind of like you have mentioned, like in a global gym type setting.
Just like random.
Yeah, just random things that would get my heart rate up and really make it feel like I was working out. But then once that got stale, right? Once I was like, I'm not seeing the progress I want, and maybe it's time to go be in a group setting. That's when I ended up being at Ute. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, and kind of looking at that, like I would almost say that's like a paleo-esque style of eating, which for like we can go ahead and kind of cover it now. Is like there's so many different diets and these things out there that people try to like. I'm going to try this and then try that and then try this and try that and try this. And a lot of it's just kind of like you need to pick something and like spaghetti, when is it done? Throw it against the wall. If it sticks, it's done. Right.
Yep.
And that's kind of what you need to do is like figure out which diet. And I'm not saying bounce around from diet to diet to diet. Is like legitimately give it a shot or look at it in a way of like, is that sustainable for me? And like we were talking about at the grocery store, like staying in the perimeter.
Yep.
Like me personally, I know how to cook and I know all these things, but I'm so lazy when it comes to cooking.
Right.
I was talking to little sidebar. I was talking to a guy that comes to the gym. His name's Henry. He was telling me that they've showed that creatives people tend to eat the worst and all these different things because it's like they don't want to get overwhelmed with like meal prepping and all that stuff like that. And I was like, that kind of makes sense because like I can do all the meal prepping stuff, but like I'm all about simplicity. Like my newest meal I started doing was I have a big Tupperware thing, fill it full of like mixed greens.
Mm-hmm.
I have this little cup of rice minute rice, whatever. Dump that in there, and then I put around I weigh it on the scale, but it's around I think it's like 30 to 40 grams of protein worth of chicken in there.
Yep.
Then I dump the just some kind of like dressing on it, put the lid on it, and shake it up.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then I've been eating that lately, so it's kind of like an easy go-to. The lettuce makes me feel full.
Right.
But anyway, so I'm like super simple when it comes to eating because I just don't want to have to overthink it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I think that's where a lot of people they get overwhelmed is because you see on people's posts on like Instagram, it's like meal prep done, and it's like you see a whole freaking table of, and it's like holy shit, that's 1 week for one person.
Yeah,
it's like I have a family and all that stuff, so it's like
can be overwhelming.
Exactly, super overwhelming. So a lot of times I think people see that and they just assume that's what they have to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for me personally, and you can kind of explain how you do it, but kind of touching back on the different diets, you have like paleo, you have like vegan, vegetarian, macro counting, zone, carnivore now that's just meat. There's so many different styles of diets, and I've kind of dabbled a little bit in all of them in the sense of just let me understand what this is. Let me understand what this is.
Yep.
Just because like different things work for different people. Like you did the basically no carbs. My goal right now is I'm trying to get to where I'm eating 500 grams of carbs a day.
Sure.
And I don't mean on the scale. I mean 500 grams and then we can talk to macros.
Yeah.
But macro breakdown. And Like yesterday, I got 370. The day before, I think I was like 390.
Oh, and
I'm
like,
oh.
gonna explode.
So I bought some rice, bought rice cakes.
Right.
And I'm just like pounding
choice.
those in between,
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to figure out ways of adding more. But that's for me personally. I'm trying to gain weight and I'm trying to get it. But that's when I feel the best. Like I worked with a lady recently and we were upping my fat, like in my breakfast and different things. And I'll get on the scale. We have one of the in-body scanners or whatever. And my fat was going up. And she's like, well, that happens if you want to gain weight and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, yes, but I'm not trying to bulk.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut. My goal is just to kind of consistently add weight here and there.
Right.
And I did. I went from 210 to 215.
Okay.
And I feel good.
Right.
But I feel like my body fat percentage went up, I think, like 4%. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that's a big swing for me because I typically go like 1 or 2 maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it went up like 4, and I was like, oh man, like I'm starting to get nervous. I'm starting to feel a little fluffy.
Right.
And it's like it may not even be the case, but it's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah. It's so. I mean, this could be something where we just are both totally vulnerable, right? Because we have 2 very different goals, right? Of like where we want to be and what we want to look like.
Right, because I'm trying to get to where you're at.
And I'm trying to like get where you're at, right? Like I'm sick of being the like big guy all the time. And it's the scale and that thing in there are hard, right? Because it's like, well, this is saying I went up, so I'm doing something wrong, right? And for me, what I've had to hone in, and it's hard. I have really bad days. Is how am I feeling in here, right? Because when I was like not sure how to eat, I was eating a bag of salad for lunch and then like a couple RX bars, and then I would come in here and try to like crush workouts, but I would feel horrible. But it was like, well, but maybe that looks better on the scale. But I'm like, I'm not getting what I should out of this because I'm not eating enough.
Yeah, like you're not getting stronger, you're not running faster.
Right.
You're not,
But social media and the internet will tell me that I'm overeating. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like what I would say is it's important to do research. It's important to maybe try some of these different diets if that's your goal. I don't follow anything specific. I do go through periods where I'll track my macros, but where it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do full keto because I enjoy fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Like when I first tried keto and I like tried to measure my banana or whatever, I was like, you can't eat that. I'm like, this isn't going to work for me. Like I genuinely enjoy that stuff.
You have like your routine of, I guess, fruits and vegetables that you eat.
Yeah. And for me, like and right or wrong, and I'm sure that there's doctors and people and dietitians out there that be like, well, you're wrong. Fine. If it's a fruit, I'm going to eat it. Like, I like that.
Right.
And it's better than ice cream. So let me live. Right. And, but that's not everybody, right? There's other people who are like, oh, I can do strict keto because I don't really care about fruits and that kind of stuff. So, I would try different things and figure out what works for you, even if it's not paleo or keto or zone to the exact T. If you come in here and you're feeling better and you're seeing noticeable changes in yourself.
With keto, a lot of people don't realize is that whenever you're trying to, because kind of touching on, if you don't know, keto basically is a high fat, high protein diet, super low carbs, like less than 20 grams of carbohydrates a day. And if you guys don't understand what carbs and protein and fat of what we mean is like, whenever you're eating like a steak or something like that, like let's say like you go to the steak place and you're like, hey, I'll take this 6-ounce ribeye or whatever. In that 6 ounces, it has X amount of protein in this ribeye, has X amount of fat in this ribeye. So whenever you're eating these meals, it has like X amount of carbs, X amount of fat, So with keto, you need to have your carbs super low because you have to get in this ketogenic state. A lot of times people think they're eating keto, but I'm like, are you peeing on a stick? And it's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, how do you know you're in ketosis? Because if your body is not in this acidic state, it's not going to use the fat tissues that you have in your body.
And then it can have the opposite effect, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. You start eating your muscle tissue and start going, So that's where a lot of people kind of miss the mark. And sometimes people have to take take supplements to get into ketosis.
Right.
And it's I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this powder or whatever. Basically, you take that, and it helps push your body further into ketosis.
Yeah.
But some people don't function on that as well as they would others, and that's kind of what you were saying is like you feel better when you eat these fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. It's probably because you're more of a carbohydrate using body. So like Chris, do you remember Chris used to coach for us?
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on his last name. Anyway,
Chris and Brittany.
No, not Chris and Britt. So
Chris
Holt. Yes,
Yeah.
Chris Holt. He eats all keto.
Oh, okay.
That's his thing. It's what he does. He like went over to their house and we had dinner with them one time. We had this like really small salad, a giant steak. I mean, it was massive. It was probably like a 10 to 12 ounce steak.
Perfect.
I was like, this is
okay.
It's what we're doing,
Here
you know.
we go.
But it's what they ate. It's what he eats, how he ate, and stuff like that. And he runs perfectly on that.
Right.
Dude's way lean, those things. But like as soon as I were to say, all right, but he did long endurance style workouts,
Right.
and that works for that. But CrossFitters, we do the like 1 rep max. We do like Fran, that's like 2.5 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, less than 10 minutes. Yeah. And those things are dependent on more of your carbohydrates and those things to actually give you fuel to finish them. Or a lot of people that will do the keto bonk real hard. It's like, I was like, I felt great for the first like minute and then just died. It's like, well, you no longer have sugar in your system, so your body doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So I'm not saying like if you're a CrossFitter, don't do keto, but it's like know what you're doing, and that kind of goes back to the whole like what is your goal?
Yeah.
And then also like you were saying, like fueling yourself and feeling good.
Right.
Like me, whenever I eat a ton of carbs, I crash so hard.
Right.
Like I'll eat a ton of carbs, a big meal, like I was saying, like almost to vomiting. Yeah. Like it's just miserable. I'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's and people are like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I think I'm
going to throw up."
But yeah, so I'm eating that, and then like literally 2 hours later, I'm like shaking, and I'm like getting because my blood sugar's dropping again. I need something to get it. But like when I'm working out and I'm just going like day to day, like I feel great.
Right.
And I've tried doing the higher fat, and as soon as I kick my fats up, I just start feeling sluggish and heavy.
Got it.
So yeah, so I agree with you 100% on like what's your goals, and then also like how are you feeling, like, and then the other side of it too is this kind of puts a hard nail into what you're saying is what works for you.
Right.
Because if I'm like, all right, Lambert, no longer fruit, no longer vegetables, you're like, dude, no.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, hard pass, can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. It's funny, like. Somebody out there's listening and thinking, "Oh, I feel good when I have cheeseburgers and French fries." Well, like yes, we all do.
Yes.
But that's not the kind of good we're looking for.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like when I say feel good, like I come in and I moved well and I'm breathing well and I don't feel. For me, it's like I don't feel sluggish and gross because I'm hungry. Right. Like that's the big thing for me and always has been. Like when I was playing college football, I had a bar that I would come in and eat at halftime every day every game because I literally would feel hungry.
Gotcha.
Same thing here. Every day on the way here, I have an
apple. With the apple
like
in the bar.
That's because and I've cut out the bars because they were not good. Protein bars, they're convenient, but they're not great.
Yeah, if you really read the breakdown, you're like, okay.
So when I was going through like 3 of those a day, that was not good. But and it's like I'm sure there's something better I could be eating than an apple, but it's like that gives me a little
boost
to get me through until I get home and have dinner. And that's the type of good I feel at, because when I don't have that, I feel like I'm like nauseous.
Yeah.
And I complete opposite of other people. I can't work out on an empty stomach. Like people can come out in the morning and be like, "Oh, I haven't had breakfast yet. It's time for breakfast." I'm like, I would be like throwing up. Like literally, I feel sick. I have to eat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody like that. Like, so whenever I work out, I drink pre-workout, obviously. But if I don't, like if I work out on an empty stomach and no pre-workout, I don't feel nauseous, but like I feel to the point where I'm just like, I have nothing to give. Like
mine is physical nausea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yep.
But yeah, and like to kind of put another thing to your point, I can't even think of the word. Anyway, basically, eat a cheeseburger. 2 hours later, go try to do like a mile run.
Yeah.
Okay, see how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even if 2 hours of letting it digest all those things, you still get like the acid reflux. You still feel like, oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Right.
Like there's nothing wrong with eating cheeseburgers. There's nothing wrong with eating pizza. There's nothing wrong with eating those things. The issue is whenever people don't realize. Like I had a guy one time. He's like, "So you're saying tacos are bad?" And I was like, "I mean, no, but yes."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's that. At the end of the day, it's not an exact science, but if you eat more calories than you burn, you're going to gain weight.
Right. And not a single one of these diets that we could talk through is going to sit here and like build in cheeseburgers and tacos and pizza. It's just not. But again, like you said, if you want to have it, it's fine. And it all comes down to what your goals are.
Right.
If you're like, hey, I want to go into this eating cycle, but one day a week I'm going to have something, then that's your journey and that's your goal.
Right.
And not me, you, or any other dietitian should talk you out of that.
Right. I remember I was working with Britta. So I gave her some macro breakdown. COVID happened. I didn't see her for like almost 2 months.
Yeah.
Came back in. She was like 30 pounds lighter.
Oh, really?
And, and she was wearing a hoodie and had like a hat on.
Yeah.
Me or Britt didn't even recognize her. We're like, oh, hi, you must be new. Okay,
Right.
cool. We'll talk to her in a second.
Yeah.
We're like, holy shit, that's Britta.
Right.
It was like she had just crushed it because she was 100% for those 2 months.
Okay.
And I think up to like she's almost, I think she has like 3 months left maybe of her pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
And she's still 100%.
Yeah.
And
Good
like,
for
like
her.
all of her numbers are great in the sense of like when she goes and sees her doctor and stuff like that, like completely healthy baby, like everything's great. But like she was 100% on, and that's kind of goes back to what you were saying is like, if this is what you want, it's what you get. So like, if you're someone that's like, listen, I can't go without my beer and cheeseburger on a Saturday night.
Sure.
Cool. That's fine. But know that that's going to push off your results a little bit. Like we're all human. We all fuck up and eat crap food from time to time.
Yep.
But it's you got to look at it as kind of like what do you want?
Yep.
So if you want like, all right, I have 2 months, I would love to be down like 4% body fat, something like that, and then I'll explain why I said body fat as opposed to pounds. But if you're like, man, I want this is my goal, you have to be 100%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like and if you look at those top CrossFitting guys, like, and girls, there's all of them say, nutrition's on point.
Yep.
I have to be 100% on my nutrition.
Yep.
Otherwise, they cannot perform as well. They can't do as well because it's like literally putting bad fuel into your vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And expecting it to keep running like it's, brand new.
Yep.
I don't remember now what I was going to say that I was going to come back to. But anyway, but no, so it's like if you feel like you want to keep those things like Saturdays, typically Saturdays are a free-for-all for me.
Okay.
I just eat whatever.
Whatever you
like
want.
it's pancakes, whatever, cheeseburgers at night, ribs, we go get ice cream, whatever. And then I spend Sunday kind of getting my shit back together.
Right.
And then Monday is like I'm back on. But like if you were to say, all right, 2 or 3 times a week, I'm gonna have like a cheeseburger, or I'm gonna have whatever. Like know that's almost half of the week that you're overeating,
Right.
that you're over consuming calories. And I think that's kind of like I think it's interesting that you talked about the protein bars being like, okay, I'm going to not eat those because I didn't realize that.
Right.
If you guys don't realize, or something for you to realize is to look at the food label. A lot of times people look at that and they go, oh, okay, this has, 180 calories. Cool. I'll eat this. And they just eat it.
And on the front it says in 15 grams of protein.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Totally cool.
Yeah, nice.
But what you don't realize is that those Oreos, what is it, 3 Oreos is a serving size?
I don't remember last time I
It's
had
like
an
that.
Oreo.
It's like 3 Oreos is a serving size.
Yeah.
Who the fuck eats only 3
Yeah,
Oreos?
no.
And that's the
Is
issue.
that with or without the milk?
With.
Oh boy.
Out.
That's a lie.
Yeah, it's such a lie. But that's what people don't realize. I remember I was working with Aaron Torres for a while, and he goes, dude, I'm looking at food labels now, and I did not realize how much is in each thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look at a protein bar, like you said, it's like 20 grams of protein. You're like, okay, cool.
Yep.
That works.
Perfect.
But it also has 54 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that.
Right.
And it's like, for most people, that's like half of your daily allotted or, like a third of it. It's
Yep.
like, okay, that's a protein bar.
Right.
You're still going to be hungry after you eat that protein bar.
And it's not saying like don't ever have those. There's plenty of times where I'm like,
Yeah.
I just need something, right? And this is like, especially when I go work some of our Ragnar races. I'm
Totally.
like, this is what I got. So
yeah, and if you like that, like a lot of people don't a lot of people beat themselves up because they work full-time jobs or like a welder or like a construction worker or something. They're like, I just can't get enough meals in, or I don't have time to eat. And it's like, dude, eat a protein bar.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it serves a purpose.
Yes,
sure.
100%. But on the other side is knowing what you eat. And I don't know, I feel like there's this end-all be-all in the sense of like you cannot mess up on any of your diet, otherwise you're screwed. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no, I certainly don't think that that's true at all. I think
yeah, me neither.
It's funny and like, because you and I have had conversations for a long time about like, you're trying to gain weight and I'm trying to lose weight, and it's like we're both just unhappy in our own skin at sometimes. And I have to believe there's a lot of people that feel very similar. So hopefully some of this hits home. But like, I think it's funny that, you know, you will say, I have these 1 day a week cheat days and I still can't gain weight the way I want to. And I'm like, I don't do that. I don't cheat anymore. I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
And God damn it, I'm not losing any weight. You know what I mean? And it's like,
you hear that and you're like, what the fuck?
I know. And
dude,
I'm like,
this is how bad it is. Like, I don't know if it's just my metabolism, because I know that, because I've had people in the past be like, you just need to quit working out as much. And I'm like, I get that, but you don't understand. This is like my mental release. But like, I skipped a meal not on purpose. It was just like Carlos was out of town, so we're having to cover more classes, and I just didn't have time. I could have made time, but I was lazy and doing other, like sleeping.
Right.
And
important stuff.
Important, but I could have made time to meal prep, but I missed a meal for a week.
Right.
I lost 5 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's
so funny.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. But like, whenever I'm eating, like I said, like my breakfast, I eat eggs, apple, like a piece of bread.
Yep.
And my pancake that I make from the protein pancakes.
Right.
And I pour syrup on it, but I measure everything out.
Sure.
My lunch is typically like rice or sweet potatoes or, you know, some kind of simple carb. I know that sweet potatoes are a complex carb, but something along those lines. And then I have like chicken or steak or ground turkey or, you know, something clean like that.
Right.
And that's it.
Yep.
And then for my dinner is typically pretty clean in itself. Like it's on occasion, like I'll kind of go ham, but it's rare. But like, that's my typical meal throughout the day.
Right.
Like, I'm not like, I'll go get pizza, or tonight we'll cook like a ton of spaghetti, which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, throughout the day I'm typically pretty clean. And then if I eat breakfast at say 8:30, 9, depending on when I wake up, 11, my next meal will be at like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll go
That's a
like
big,
6-7
big
hours
break,
without
yeah.
eating. And it's because I work out during that time.
Right.
Like, I don't want to eat and then go try to work out, like eat a full meal.
Yep. And then by the time you're done working out, you got people standing there like, are we starting class? Or
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, guys, let's, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm like trying to chug my protein shake.
Right.
And then I'm trying to eat as well, trying to coach. So it's like, okay, well, kind of keep moving. But no, yeah, it is frustrating. And I've talked to people like, oh, I wish that I could just miss a meal and lose 5 pounds. I'm like, I totally agree.
Right.
I wish you could too.
Yep.
And I wish I could look at a cheeseburger and gain 3 pounds like you can too. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it is frustrating, and it is interesting, like talking about like different goals and stuff. And that's where, and then to kind of touch on the vulnerable side of things, like when I first started working out, I weighed like 168, 170 at my height. That's 6'2", and now I weigh 215.
Okay.
So I've, over the past 10 years to 11 years, I've gained that much weight.
Right.
Whereas you went from the other way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I still see myself as that skinny, scrawny kid in high school that got picked on, and like I was the butt of everybody's joke because there's no way I was standing up for myself.
Sure.
But like like the whole body dysmorphia thing, how you still see yourself as that's a real thing. And,
absolutely.
and it's totally understandable. But like, one, the weight on the scale does not mean shit.
Right.
Because like you were saying, like, what if you coming in lifting and do all that stuff, you're going to gain weight. Mm-hmm. You're going to gain muscle.
Yeah.
Because like, you're naturally a bigger dude that's going to naturally gain size easily. Whereas me, I'm the opposite, where it's like, no matter how much weightlifting I do, I freaking can't gain weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so, you know, you mentioned body dysmorphia, and Courtney, my wife, has told me I have that multiple times because it is like I said, it is hard to be like, okay, well, I hit my goal weight, and like, why don't I have these like washboard abs?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, So then for me, there's times where I just like end up in this super dark hole. And it's hard, right? Because if you've not been in that situation, you wouldn't understand. Like, and there are people who look at other people in the gym and want to compare, and that's so bad. I'm not good at it myself, but it is such a bad tendency for people to do, is to look at someone else and compare, because of all of these things we're talking about. Like, everyone's body is so different that, if you put someone next to me who's got the same weight and body fat percentage, and that we could look completely different.
So you weigh 225. Do you know your body fat percentage?
Oh, it was like 9.5 or something.
Seriously?
Yeah, that was.
I think yours is like lower than mine right now.
Yeah.
So I'm 215, and I think I'm like 10 or 11%.
Yeah.
Typically, I hover around 9.5.
Yeah.
That's where I normally hang out. But like I was telling you, I've gained some weight from eating, but from recently. But yeah. We're damn near the same.
Yeah,
everything.
We look completely different.
Andrew Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Do you remember his body type? He was like very lean, but he didn't have like super washboard abs. Me and him are the same height. I think he was an inch taller.
Okay.
We were the same weight, the same body fat percentage, and everything.
Yeah.
And we had like the same length of arms, same length of legs. Like everything was the exact same, except that like our body composition were polar opposites.
That's so funny.
Like we were like, I remember looking at our charts next to each other, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Like
we had the same muscle mass, the same everything, but it's just how our bodies held the weight was way different.
It's so different. And to think, like, if you're looking at you and I and think we're only 10 pounds separated, it's so funny because
4 times my size.
Yeah, I feel like we look very different.
Yeah. Like I've talked to Britt about this multiple times. I'm like, fuck, I'm just trying to get I want to be as big as Lambert. I've literally said that to her, and she's like,
I've never said that.
You don't want to be as big as you?
Fuck that guy. Sorry.
I don't really like that
Don't
guy.
say that word.
Yeah, that's a bad word. But no, I've literally said that, and because it's like I see like you, Nate, and like Keenan, and I'm like, God, man, they're so like big and thick, and like I wish that I looked like that. Just because it's like I've always been the opposite, whereas you're coming from the other direction. So kind of like the main point of all this is like whenever you guys are thinking about a number, a body fat percentage, all this stuff, like you can't do that. Like Britt, I've heard so many girls come up to her and be like, man, I want my body to look like yours, and I wish that my legs look like yours, and I wish my arms look like yours. But like I talked to Britt, and she's like, I need to lose weight. My legs don't look good. Like I feel like I have fat legs. And I'm like, Britt, you look fine. Like you're okay. And she's like, I just feel like I need to lose 5 to 10 pounds. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way?
Right.
And then it's finally she's gotten to the point now where she's like, I know that if I lose 5 to 10 pounds, my pull-ups will get easier. My gymnastics will get better.
Got it. Yeah.
So she's looking at it more as like a performance base now.
And not an Instagram
Exactly.
picture.
Yeah. I mean, she still has that in the back of her head, but yeah, it's more of performance base.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is, to take a phrase from you, the beauty of CrossFit.
Right.
Somebody the other day was like, we need to make a shirt that says beauty of CrossFit and have
Beauty
Lambert, because they're like, Lambert says that a lot.
That's right. Beauty of CrossFit. That's good.
But the beauty of CrossFit is that it kind of like rewards and punishes you for certain things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you eat like shit, you're going to get punished.
Right.
If you eat really well, you're going to get rewarded. If you're lighter, gymnastics feels so much easier.
Right.
If you're
Absolutely.
lighter, weightlifting feels so much worse.
Yep.
So it's kind of like this whole that's like one reason why I like it is because it kind of balances everything. It's not if you're the biggest guy in the room, then you're the best.
Right.
If you're the smallest guy in the room, you're the best.
Yeah.
It's all the above.
Not. Yeah, it's definitely not.
And it's frustrating because you want to be the best and all those things like me and you've talked about, and you really try. But like I was talking to Carlos, Coach Carlos, probably like a couple months ago, and we were talking about me gaining weight and trying to gain weight and all this stuff, and he was like, "Well, how do you feel? How do you feel in the gym?" And I was like, "I feel fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like my muscle ups feel good, my handstand walks feel good, and my weightlifting is now finally starting to pick back up to where it was 6 years ago." Mm-hmm. But I'm finally starting to feel good in my weight, and it's not because I chose a specific diet that was like, this is great for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm not like, what's the ideal weight? There is an ideal height and size for like the top CrossFitters. It's like 5'10", 190.
But that's not what you're going for.
No, because I would have to chop my legs off.
Yeah.
And lose a little more weight.
Right.
But no, like, but I think that if you have certain goals that you're trying to reach, number one, this is what I normally tell people: you're human. We all fuck up. We all mess up. We all we all make decisions whenever we're starving that later on we're like, why did we do that? But it's like, know that you do that and then move on. But the issue is if you do that every single day, then that's where you mess up.
Right.
It's like, yes, scold yourself, be like, okay, don't do that again, be better prepared, because a lot of times people just aren't prepared.
Yeah, and I think it's like you just have to be very honest with yourself, and you know, even if it comes from a scolding kind of,
Did you see that?
Oh, that's funny.
So my coffee Lambert got me.
That's right.
It says Lambert, and then it says server Madison H.
Yeah.
But with 2 D's.
Oh,
stupid.
You're gonna be Double D Madison now. It's your new nickname.
I wish I had
Double D Madison. But what I was saying is, like, you just have to be really honest with yourself. And for me personally, when it was a couple years ago, when I had got down to 240, and that's when Parking Lot Wednesday and the beer drinking, socializing at Ute CrossFit was at its absolute peak. Mm-hmm. I was drinking beer 6 or 7 nights a week because it was fun, right? That's the community thing to do. But I felt like trash in the gym, and my body fat and weight were going up, and I was like, "What? I don't understand. I'm working so hard," and making Andrew feel bad for eating a crumble cookie. It's like, how can you do that and look like that, and I don't eat bad? But it's like, dude, I had to really have an honest conversation with myself and be like, you're drinking 12 Coors Lights every day. That's not gonna end well. And when I put it back on myself that it was something that I was doing that was an easy change, my journey became a lot more enjoyable.
Right. And I think you kind of made a solid point there, is that you put it back on yourself and what am I doing wrong?
Right.
For yourself.
Right.
Because what I do is different than what you do, different than what, anybody else does, because people want to look at other people what are you eating? Well, why can't I? And it's like, listen,
it's not gonna work
I don't know. I wish I could give you that answer, why you can't eat this way. Why is it that all I have to do is skip a meal and I lose weight?
Right.
Other people are I eat once a day and I've gained 10 pounds. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Well, it's your metabolism's different. The way just you've built your way of eating up to this point is handled way differently.
Yep.
So you cannot look at this as well, what are they doing? What are they doing? You have to what works for you. And then kind of going back to the calories thing is, and I hate kind of being it's all about the calories, but it kind of is. It's all about quantity and then quality.
Yep.
And I would, honest to God, I don't know which one I would put first, because I would say quality, because it's if you're just eating really good, high quality foods, you're going to feel better. You're going to lose a little bit of body fat, these different things. But the issue is if you're overeating these qualities, now we need to look at quantity.
Right.
So I guess if you had to pick one or the other, I would go quality first.
Yeah, I would agree.
Clean up your food, clean up these things, simplify it, make things simple. And I'll kind of touch on this in a minute, but then go to quantity to make sure that you're not overeating. Make it a habit of, okay, I only shop in the perimeter of the store. I only eat, something that come from an animal or come from the ground rather than from a factory.
Right.
Then from that point on, once that's habit, because it's if you're trying to change all of these things, you need to make it simple and do one step at a time.
Yep. For sure.
Okay, I'm just going to work on what I'm eating, and that's it. That's all I'm going to work on. Make sure I'm not eating like shit every day.
Right.
Cool. I've done that for a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, until you feel comfortable. Then let's figure out how much you're eating of what.
Yep. And I would say, that there's, from firsthand experience, you can't come in here at a calorie deficit either. That is not that was actually for me having the adverse reaction, where it was my body was holding on to every little bit it had, that I wasn't losing any weight because I had nothing to get rid of, because it needed every little bit of that. So if you're I'm only going to have this bag of salad today and that's it until tomorrow morning, that's not going to work. And that comes back to the quantity that can be honed in as well.
Because a lot of the whole deficit and different things, depending on what your workload is, workout, your actual job, all these different things, they play such a huge role in the amount of food that you need. And if you're way under eating, your body literally is I'm dying.
Yeah.
Because I'm having to run 40 miles to catch this buffalo and I can't do it. So it's like, okay, I can't do it on what energy I have. So I'm going to store the rest of this as fat because I'm probably not going to eat for the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what your body starts to think. So it starts putting it on as fat. Then from that point on, it's just an uphill battle the whole time. But if you're getting the right amount of food, like if you're eating to not I hate it whenever people are like, eat until you're full. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Because if I eat until I'm full,
it's going to be a while.
Yeah, because if you eat until you're full, then you've gone past.
Right.
Because that means that your body's having to send signals up to your brain to tell you to stop eating because your stomach's at capacity. So it's like that's a tough one to kind of skate. But like you said, if you're coming in to the gym or if you're like going to work. All right, we're back. So had a little technical difficulty. Battery died.
Technanigans.
Technanigans. Figured out. Check the batteries next time.
It's important.
In our recorder. No, so what I was saying was if you're feeling like bogged down and tired all the time. Now I know that like so whenever Nick, I was talking to him recently, he was did the RP diet, which if you guys don't know is called the Renaissance periodization. So it's these guys that would do bodybuilding. They wrote this diet plan. All of them are literally doctors in their field and what they do, and they're super meticulous about stuff. You can buy templates. You can use their app. It's like super cool. It's way easy laid out. It has like here's your meats to choose from. Click that. This is how much you need to eat. They try to make it super simple.
Right.
He was going through a cut because he was getting ready for a lifting meet, and he needed to lose, I think, 12 pounds. So he was eating, and he was like, man, I was tired in the gym. I was tired of that. Like, that's one thing. He had, I think, 1 month to lose 12 pounds.
Okay.
So he was on an extreme cut. So he was super fatigued, super tired, like his lift, but he made weight, all the good things. So now he's on his way back up to getting to his homeostasis weight, like which is just where your body feels comfortable. If you're feeling bogged down and tired constantly, you're not eating enough.
Right.
You need to eat plenty to energize you, but you don't want to eat enough to like hang on to more. So it's like if you were to, you fill your tank up in your car.
Yep.
You're like, okay, cool. It has a 15-gallon tank. Put 15 gallons in. But let's say that you drive from home to work to home, and that's it. That's all you do every day. If you were to put 15 gallons in there and you drive from home to work to home, and let's say you use a gallon or 3 gallons or whatever it is. So let's say 3 gallons of gas, and then you have 12 gallons left over. If we're looking at the human body, and let's say you put in that 15 gallons, you use 3 gallons, your body's going to go, cool, we got some extra, we can save this for later, and it puts it as fat. So it's just like as if your car, if it were to turn that 12 gallons into, like, say, extra steel on the back or whatever.
Okay.
So it's like it's going to turn it into that, and eventually your car is going to be gigantic.
Right.
And it's going to be, now your car, instead of taking 3 gallons to get there, it's going to take 5 or 6 because it's having to work that much harder to get from point A to point B back to point A. So if you look at the human body that way, and it's not a machine, and your car doesn't have emotions like you do, like I get all of those things, but if we solely break this down that way, look at it that way. If you only need 3 gallons to get from point A to point B back to point A, and that's it, like you don't need anything else, the more you put in there, the more it's going to turn to save fuel for later.
Got it.
Because let's say that you, every night when you get home, you put in 3 gallons, close it, cool. Next morning you get
Start
up.
back over.
Yep, and you do that every day. And if there was a way to, like, you could only put 3 gallons in there, then you're set.
Right.
But the issue is we have emotions. We have all these things that we're attached to and we feel like we need, and all this stuff like, oh, growing up, this is what we ate and it made me feel good. And like, it's like we have those attachments that we need. And if you can figure out a way to find out the exact amount that you need to eat, which there's different ways. There's like the BMR, which is your base metabolic rate, which is how many calories you burn a day. Without, it's like if you were just I'd be like, all right, Lambert, to keep your size and your activity level and all this stuff, here's the amount of calories you need to eat to maintain where you're at today. If we're trying to lose a little bit of weight, we can pull back the calories a hair, like 200 calories a day. You know what I mean? Which is like almost nothing.
Right.
But if you pull back 200 calories a day, you span that over a year's time.
Yep.
Now you've dropped that weight down
pretty significantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your body's always trying to get back to what I said a minute ago was homeostasis. So it's trying to keep you here. If your homeostasis is here and you're trying to lose weight, your body's trying to get back up to that homeostasis.
Right.
The whole time it's trying to fight you until it realizes this is the new, we're good.
This is where we're going to be.
So that's where you'll see somebody do a cut and then they go back to what's called maintenance, to where it's like they up their calories on stuff.
Got it.
Because it's like, I need my body, you need to let your body know, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're not dying.
Sure.
We're not going days without eating, different stuff like that. So looking at that, it's trying to find that happy medium, that sweet spot, to where you're not overeating, to where you're still happy.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down. If you're eating the perfect diet for you, 100%, meaning perfect as in for what your body needs, not what your mind needs, what your body needs, and you're extremely unhappy, you all right?
I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Can you hear me? Nope.
I can hear you. It might be this. No. Can't hear me no more, broski?
No.
Talking to your mic.
Check.
Yeah, I can hear you. We're just having all the technical difficulties today. And then twist it. It screws in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird.
Yeah, mine did that earlier too. I was
Okay.
like, oh, this is weird. Anyway, so if you find the perfect diet for your body. If you went to the doctor and they're like, we did a analysis of your cells and analysis of all this stuff, here's what works for you, and you're like, man, Lambert, you can't have fruit anymore.
Oh, bummer.
Right. It's like, well, I'm going to be eating fruit.
Yeah.
because it doesn't work for
It's a
you
no for me,
mentally.
dog.
It has to work. Yeah, it's hard. It's no. What is that from? That's a no
American
for me, dog?
Idol.
Oh, okay.
Randy
yes,
Jackson.
Randy,
Is
yeah.
Randy Jackson? Yeah, that's going to be a no for me,
that's-
dog. Okay, sorry.
But no, it's good. I love pop culture references. It's my favorite. But like if it doesn't work for you mentally, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like we've talked about in the past. If you do the perfect program that's going to help you get the strongest, fastest, all these different things, and you half-ass it because you're just not enjoying it, you're not going to get the results.
Right.
But if you do a shitty program that you're having fun, laughing, and you're like looking forward to it, you're going to get the best results.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, your mental happiness is just as important as like your physical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like your mental
Yes.
state and your
Yes.
mental journey is just as important as your
But
physical.
on the other side, you have to have fucking control.
Yes.
Ice cream, cheeseburgers, beer,
Right.
all those things sound so great
Right. Because they are.
because they are.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Right.
But you have to have control. You
Right.
can't be like, yeah, I'm just going to eat this stuff and then I'll lose weight. It's
Right.
like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
But
and I will say that
Yep.
there is a happy medium for that, right? Like, I applaud the people that can do things in moderation,
Yeah.
right? Like, and not just cut it out. Like, for me, I'm the
You're
polar
an all or
opposite.
nothing.
Yes,
I've noticed that with you.
and I've told you that. Like, if we went to TF a couple weeks ago, and like I didn't drink, and those were some of my favorite things to do, is like sit around and have a beer,
social drinking,
and like those are the spots where I wish I could hone it in a little bit and be
Yeah.
like, it's okay to have a beer or two tonight. It's not gonna kill you. You're not gonna
Right.
explode. But for me, I just like mentally like I can't do it. Like I'll just get all the work I've
blow
put
up.
in. Yeah, and like it's not true. But I don't for whatever reason like I struggle mentally with that.
It's
So
interesting. I wished I had, like, again, this goes back to the whole, like, yeah, what will you, like, I wished I had that.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. Like, on one side, it's yes, just, as they say, just eat the damn cake,
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
the hell. It's like, yes, totally. But and I think that this is kind of where your head's at, maybe, I don't know, is because I've heard people be like, you can take a day off. It's okay. It's like, you don't understand. The reason why you get results is because of consistency.
Yeah.
If you're consistently fucking up,
Right.
you're consistently not going to reach your goals.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're consistent, you're going to reach your goals,
Definitely.
whatever they are. Let's, run a marathon or gain 10 pounds of muscle or lose 20 pounds of fat or, whatever it is. If you're consistent, you're going to do well.
Right.
And I wish that I could just done that. I used to. I remember in the past, like when I first started working out, I was that way. I was like, I'm not going to eat garbage. Cut everything out,
Yeah.
no matter where we were. Like, here, you want some ice cream? Nope. Sure
Not
don't.
gonna do it. Yeah.
Now I'm like, I'll just have a bite, which I know will turn into a gallon.
Right.
But no. So I think that's good that you can do that because I know a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
But But how we're talking about calories in, calories out, there was a question, and it was on the Instagrams that Nick had posted. Me and Carlos were talking the other day. I actually got into the reason why I know the answer to this question is because I got into it with someone on social media.
Okay.
It was
social media all-star?
One time a year where I cave, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then we go back and forth. It's not good. But I was from what I understood was that I was always like, CrossFit, you burn more calories than just going and doing like running for 30 minutes a day.
Right.
I'm like, CrossFit, works. You burn more calories.
Sure.
No, that is not the case. So going back to the thought process of the homeostasis. So if I were to tell you we're going to go do 10 400-meter sprints with like 4 minutes of rest or something in between, cool. Let's go do that. So if you know anybody that has done a 400-meter sprint as hard as you can, all out, that shit sucks.
Yes, it does.
Like you're shaking, you can't breathe. That's me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you're just dying. Get up, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Slow death.
So if I were to tell you to do that, how long does it take for you to get back to, okay, I'm feeling normal again? Typically it's hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you do an all-out 100% mile, like you don't feel yourself for a long time. If you do a minute sprint on the assault bike, it wrecks you for a long time. Right. And there's a reason you're like, oh, God. It's because like that feeling. It's not just the post 30 seconds that's like, oh, that shit sucks. It's I'm still feeling shaky, and it's been 2.5 hours.
Right.
There's a reason for that. It's because you have now just spiked everything, and your body's like, get this back down.
Right.
So it spends more calories trying to get this back down. It's like, okay, it's called EPOC, where it's like you use way more oxygen, you use all this stuff. It's trying to get this back down to normal.
Okay.
So if I were to say, all right, Lambert, we're going to go run for an hour, breathe through your nose the entire time. If you start to get winded, slow down.
Okay.
Walk if you have to.
Yeah.
We're just going to hold that pace for an hour. You're like, all right, cool. You do that, your legs may feel a little tired for about 30 minutes. After that, you're fine.
You could do it again. Yeah.
Exactly. So if we're looking at just an hour, if I'm going to work out for 1 hour and I'm like, I want to burn the most amount of calories I can in that 1 hour session, I'm going to choose the run.
Okay.
Because you're going to burn, say, anywhere from 300 to 600 calories, some people 1,000, depending on what your output is.
Right.
But if we do like an hour's worth of CrossFit, come in, warm up, we're going to do a 3x5 back squat, and we're going to go really heavy on the back squats, and then we're going to do like a 12-minute Metcon afterwards.
Right.
If we're looking at that 1 hour session versus the 1 hour session, you burn way more calories in that run.
Interesting.
Because you're having an elevated heart rate for an hour.
For an extended
amount of time.
Gotcha.
So your body is just consuming calories to keep that moving.
Yep.
Your heart rate's setting at like 150, 160, and it's just holding that for that amount of time.
Right. When
you're in here, you warm up, you get your heart rate up, comes back down. Okay, we're going to do our weightlifting. Heart rate goes up, comes back down. During our rest, goes up, comes back down. Goes up, comes back down.
Got it.
Cool. We're still, our average heart rate is like 100 or 90.
Yeah.
That's our average heart rate. Do our 12-minute workout, kicks up to say 170, 180.
Yep.
If you're really pushing it, maybe 190. But you can only hold 170 to 190 for a certain amount of time. That's why most people, when they're like, yeah, my heart rate get up to 197 or 180. And I'm like, oh, cool. That's really fucking high.
Right.
How long were you in that? And they're like, oh, about 10 seconds, 30 seconds. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's a long time to be at max heart rate. But it was only for that short amount of time.
Yeah, exactly.
So your average heart rate's like 120.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm with you.
So you're only going to burn so many calories during that hour with the average heart rate at like 120. But if your average heart rate's 150 consistently for an hour, calories are way higher.
Yep. I'm with you.
But the issue is for your body to get back to homeostasis after that hour, the run immediately comes back down. So the weightlifting and all those things, like your body's trying to repair muscles from the weightlifting.
Sure.
Your body's trying to get everything back to normal for like after that Metcon, like pulling your heart rate back down, getting some sugars back into your system. That way you can have that fight or flight, like go.
Yep.
You get everything back. So that takes hours, if not like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
So if we do like 3 to 4 days of that style of training, we have basically a week of recovery now that we're using to keep burning calories. That's why CrossFit and the high intensity stuff works if you consistently do it over a long period of time. if I give you one workout today and you're like, cool, and I'll see you next month. It's like
that's not gonna work.
No,
right?
No, cool, you did something,
Right.
but if we're looking for,
you're not gonna get the results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the question, was like, what burns more calories, a Metcon, depending on time, or, you know, like a CrossFit class versus a long run. If we're just solely looking at calories in that 1 hour, run all day.
Right.
Whatever that slow cardio is, the run is. But whatever the if you're looking for like long-term results of I want to build more lean muscle mass, which burns more calories in the long run. If you take like say 140-pound female who is say 18% body fat versus a 140-pound female who's 30% body fat, the BMR, which is like how many calories you need, on the leaner athlete, she is going to be burning way more calories a day just doing nothing than the other female.
Right.
And that's just because now your body's having to work that much harder to maintain that muscle mass.
Okay.
So that's why whenever people are like, do weightlifting and you'll burn more calories, it's because you gain more muscle tissue, which you have to and then ingest more because it needs more to sustain that.
Gotcha.
That makes sense?
That makes total sense. I had never thought about that, right? Like, because I would just figure I come in here and I'm going to sweat more in this hour than I would if I were to go for an hour run.
Right.
But I get that. That makes total sense.
Yeah. Because in that short amount of time that you're working out, like yesterday's workout, though, we did a 14-minute workout, which was terrible. Yeah. Everybody I've talked to is like, that was the hardest thing
My
I've done
heart
in a
rate
long
didn't
time.
get up very high.
No, but you felt like complete shit. Your runs were so slow and all that stuff. You're sweating so hard. It's because your body's temperature is so high and it's trying to pull it back down as opposed to just like gradually getting up and hanging. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But
what's happening?
Yeah, this sucks, and we're done. But that's kind of the thought process behind doing like a high intensity, you know, or weightlifting for longevity and those things, as opposed to just doing like a long, it's called LSD, long slow distance style training. But if you kind of look at it that way, it'll help you on reaching your goals. And then too, talking about gaining muscle mass, the scale's going to go up.
Yep.
Whereas you're trying to lose body fat and you want it to go down. So you can't look at that. You got to look at how clothes fit, what's the size of like your pants, like what like how are things, like what's your body composition looking like now as opposed to scale weight.
Yeah. Scale weight's the devil.
Yeah, 100%.
Scale weight is the devil. So I actually have a question for you, because somebody actually asked me this not too long ago, and I'm curious on what your answer is. So there's a buddy from back home who was in the military, came back, put on a lot of weight, doing a ton of drinking, eating like crap, and then over the past, 4 or 5 months, he's like back in the gym trying to lose weight and that kind of stuff. And he's doing stuff at a Globo gym. But I know his lifestyle based on his social media. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of drinking and it's a lot of 6-7 days a week. And he is happy with his weight loss. Mm-hmm. So I actually think there's probably people in here who've asked a similar question. Happy with his weight loss, but not seeing the muscle gain coming from it. And so like I started with trying to figure out like what's his diet looking like, and you know, what supplements is he taking, because he was saying he was taking supplements and he was doing like a diet, something from a GNC.
Gotcha.
It was a diet supplement, a whey protein, and like a pre-workout or something that was called like Killer or something. So,
yeah, they like to try to.
That.
You're gonna die.
Yeah.
give me 2 scoops.
God. Yeah. So I'm curious on what your answer to be would like to him or to like someone with a similar question.
So my first thought is whenever I have someone like that that's like, okay, yeah, I drink like 6 to 7, 8 days a week, whatever. Like I said, 8 days a week. But I, makes sense. My first thought on that, and when people are trying to gain muscle, is that alcohol has a direct correlation of lowering testosterone.
Interesting.
So if your testosterone's lower, it's going to be harder for you to gain muscle mass. That's why guys are a lot bigger than females.
Yeah.
Is because we have way more testosterone. So the alcohol lowers that testosterone, so it makes it that much harder to gain. The other side of it's like, what's the routine look like in the gym? Like, are you doing 30 minutes of cardio and then weightlifting, those kinds of things? So whenever you're doing traditional like weightlifting or like Globo gym style workouts, typically for like a bodybuilder, what they do is they go in and they do like, say, a chest day or chest and back or bis, like they do a body part and they work that. When you're doing that, you do a set, you rest. You do a set, you rest, because you're working hypertrophy. You're trying to gain this stuff. So with the body is super intuitive to understanding what your training is. So let's say that like I'm like, all right, Lambert, I'm trying to gain weight and I just can't. And they're like, okay, what are you doing? So okay, so I do legs on Monday, I do chest on Tuesday, and I go down the list of things that I'm doing. And then I'm like, once I finish that hour, 2 hours, I go for an hour-long run.
Okay.
And let's say I'm working out for 2 hours. First hour is weightlifting, second hour is just cardio. So from what I've understood, your body basically goes, we need to train, or we need to recover for what we're training for.
Yep.
If you're training lifting and heavy lifting, your body's like, I need to get better at that, because that is what's thrown in front of me the entire time. I got to keep picking up these damn trees to get them off the path.
Yeah.
I need to get stronger so I can pick up the heavier ones and make this easier. That way I'm not killing myself. If you're like, I'm running a marathon every day, your body's like, you're heavy, dude.
Right.
We need to loosen this muscle mass because we're training for this long. And for us to carry this much weight is really hard on our joints and really hard on our muscle tissue and just all this different stuff. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. We don't need it. So we need to stay light. So like whenever I hear that, it's like, what does your training sessions look like? Are you actually lifting for an hour, or are you lifting for 20 minutes and you're spanning it over an hour? You know what I mean? And then the other side of it is like, what is your caloric intake in protein, carbs, and fat?
Yep.
Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough carbs?
Yep.
So the kind of how I've explained this and understood it, and I could be wrong. Someone, you can tell me wrong, please, because I love being told I'm wrong. And then that way I get it right. Protein basically repairs the muscle. Think of it like a pothole in the road.
Yep.
Protein makes it flat, right? Makes it so where that pothole's no longer there. If you get enough, it recovers that. That's to stay the same, right? So let's say that we're trying to lump this pothole up because we want to make it into a speed bump or whatever analogy you want to use. In order to get that speed bump to get higher, we need to add carbs.
Okay.
You need to put tons of carbs in there because that's what's going to repair that muscle to make it bigger.
Got it.
To make it add mass.
And that's what like the BCAAs and that kind of stuff people will do.
So BCAAs is the protein. That's to help recover.
Got it.
So if we're trying to add, we need to add more carbs. We need to add those things because that is what builds that. Fat is your fuel to keep going. Fuels your brain, fuels a lot of like your hormones, those things to keep going, to keep that energy, to keep you awake, to keep you moving.
Got it. Cool.
If someone, like I've done before and I figured out later, was I cut my fat out. Like I was eating like 10 grams a day, maybe. Like I was eating chicken, rice, no steak, no beef, no nothing. And I was like brain fog. I was like, I was a waiter at the time, and I was like, what was your I can't remember their order. I think they got chicken, maybe. So hey, what'd you get?
Right.
But it was because I was in brain fog because I wasn't given enough fat to fuel my brain in order to keep moving.
Right.
So if you're trying to gain muscle mass, from what I've understood and what's worked for me, and obviously it works for everybody different, but it's the eat around your body weight in protein.
Yep.
Eat way more in carbs because that's what you're going to do in order to do that, to gain the muscle. So answer and kind of thinking about it is like, one, how much alcohol are you drinking? Because that's going to keep your testosterone down. Yep. That's also a lot of extra calories. And a lot of times people will be like, well, I'm drinking a lot of beer. That's considered carbs, right? No.
Yeah.
Alcohol has its own caloric per gram. It's 7 calories per gram of alcohol. That's what you're consuming.
Yeah.
You're consuming alcohol calories. You're not consuming carbohydrate calories like rice or sweet potatoes or potatoes, something like that. So you're consuming a shit ton of calories that's literally going to just lower all of your hormones in a bad way.
Right.
And then also your body's just going to add that on. So for him, I would be like, hey, so like, what does your workout routine look like? What is your protein intake per day, and what's your carb intake per day? What's your fat intake per day?
Right.
Those kinds of things. But if I'm just like throwing a ballpark like a this, just make sure if you're going in and doing hypertrophy, that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're getting plenty of rest in between, and have some heavy days from time to time. Like you're only doing like 2 to 3 reps, just to make sure that you're gaining some, because your body's actually testosterone goes up whenever you do heavy lift.
Yep.
And the higher testosterone, the more fat's burned, all that stuff. That's why like most of the time whenever people are on like steroids, they blow up, but they also lose a ton of fat.
Sure.
But anyway, so yeah, that'd be, I don't know how you kind of
no, that's great.
that. But
no, that's good.
Yeah.
It was kind of a side text message, so I tried to give him some pointers and certainly told him to avoid a diet pill from a GNC.
Any fat burners, guys, fat burners are bullshit. 100% bullshit. All of them. Fat burners don't work.
Absolutely.
At all. All they are is just caffeine.
Right.
You feel good and you feel jittery because
and from what I understand, doing something like that while you're trying to lose weight and gain muscle can have like adverse reactions
100%,
with each other, right?
100%. A lot of times people think that like in order for you to gain muscle, you need to gain fat. In order for you to lose fat, you lose muscle.
Right.
Yes and no. So like me personally, I've gained muscle over the past 10 years. It's taken forever.
Yeah.
But I haven't gained fat.
Okay.
Like my body fat percentage typically sits between 9 and 10.5.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's where I hang out.
Yeah.
And it's not, it goes up 10.5, drops back down. It goes 10.5, drops. It doesn't do that. It just kind of like, just like your body weight fluctuates 3 to 5 pounds a day.
Got it.
It's just because I'm trying to skate the line of I'm gaining slowly and I'm eating just enough to gain.
Okay.
But I'm not eating enough to like gain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
cool.
That's an awesome question.
Great.
I think we're really far on. Oh, one of the things you said was, and we've touched on this many times that haven't like specifically said it, was you wrote it down on the whiteboard, is accepting the ups and downs.
Yeah. I think no matter what, if you walk in somewhere and say, these are the changes I'm going to make, I can't wait to see what I look like in a month. That may be good, but that can't be the end all be all. And it is absolutely a journey, right? Something that I started 5 years ago is still a journey that I'm on, and it's had its tons of ups and downs and changes and that kind of stuff. And you just have to accept that just because you are getting to a goal that you hit isn't the end all be all. And then you're like, okay, I'm done, right? Because then it's like, well, what are you going to? What are you going to do to maintain that?
Right.
Or what changes are you going to make from there? So accept the ups and downs. Know that there's going to be good times and bad times, and try to find a way to enjoy the journey. And if you have questions along the way, we're all here to help.
All here to help for sure. Sorry about all the technical difficulties up to this point.
Yeah, geez,
whatever. It was a great podcast.
It's not even a Monday.
It's not. It's Thursday.
Right.
But yeah, thanks for joining in, guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Maddie.
Later.